And this was I wanted to bring my blood pressure down because I was scared of one of the most lethal disease. Which is the most lethal disease because of hypertension? Anybody? All doctors? Coronary artery disease, hypertension, stroke. Absolutely, CVM. My father-in-law's favorite topic. Dr. P.M. Dalal, he has written a chapter in Harrison on CVS, cerebrovascular accident, right? So I was scared. I said, I don't want to get into this. I'm scared of heart attack, basically. Okay. Then I started asking more questions. Was my high blood pressure was because of increase in cholesterol? Because you know how they're told cholesterol, bad cholesterol, heart attacks. But I was not eating cholesterol. I was eating, I can't believe it's not butter. Is it saturated fat? I was not eating, I was drinking skim milk. I was not eating butter. So there was no saturated fat in my diet. Was it increase in salt? Because salt increases your hypertension. No, I was not eating salt at all, hardly anything. Was it due to lack of exercise? Okay, these are all the root causes I was trying to figure out, that why I got blood pressure. Was it genetic? I said, yeah, maybe, but let me read more about it, okay? Because I was trying my best to prevent this hypertension. When I was doing a lot of research, I found there was an elephant in the room which was not taught to doctors. It was not taught to me, at least, okay? And do you know what is that elephant in the room? Is sound okay or is it echoing? Sound is okay? Okay. So the elephant in the room was insulin resistance. I heard this term for the first time in my life. Okay, even as a postgraduate student in pediatrics, we were not taught about insulin resistance. While I was reading about insulin resistance, I got to learn a lot about nutrition, biochemistry. I had your first year topic, right? Biochemistry. We used to dread the topic. There were all the cycles, Krebs cycle, and all those names. We used to just kind of read it to pass it. Correct? There was no correlation. Then I also learned about cholesterol metabolism because I thought if I didn't eat cholesterol, and I'm worried about my heart attack, I don't know which of the cholesterol is in a normal range. Right? So I went into cholesterol metabolism. I learned about ketone bodies. I also learned about sodium glucose homeostasis. Okay, this is one topic which is not taught to us, and it's very, very important that we learn about sodium glucose homeostasis and glycation. Okay, so this is what I learned. And obviously, some slides are not for doctors, just for layperson, because I know there are a lot of layperson over here also, non-medicals. So some of the long-term consequences which I was worried about was basically, of course, I got high blood pressure. Diabetes, I was worried about, pre-diabetes, diabetes. Okay. I was also worried about, when I started reading about insulin resistance, started looking at what are the complications. I was worried about amputation, all the dialysis, everything, night blindness, stroke, Being a medical doctor, you always think of the worst scenario, don't we? Right? Whereas again, I don't have this. I learned about what are the causes of dementia? What are the causes of schizophrenia? So I learned, okay, and this is again post-MD. I was practicing already. How a lot of these neuropsychiatric disorders are related to some of the diseases, like insulin-resistant disease, psoriasis. I had very dry skin, and I figured that why I was getting this dry skin. So I started to realize those root causes of these issues, knee joint problems, and of course, a lot of cancers like breast cancer, prostate cancer. I learned that a lot of disease were basically metabolic disease. Metabolic disease, okay? And one of the most common cause of NFLD, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease in women, it's very common in women nowadays, okay? And one of the most common cause of liver transplantation in women is non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. We don't drink alcohol, do we? But still, most of us have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So if you do ultrasound, you'll know that you'll have fatty liver. Okay. And what I learned, and I have articles on all of them, basically what I mean is insulin resistance. Okay. When you have insulin resistance, you have two kind of phenotype. May have obesity. This is not showing. You may have obesity and you may have TOFI. What is TOFI? Does anybody know what is TOFI? Does anybody know TOFI? thin outside, fat inside. I was toffee. I was only 54 kg, but I had fatty liver. Okay, so I learned about thin outside, fat inside. And then when I was doing a lot of research on insulin resistance, these are the articles which came up, which was mind blowing. So your skin disease, acne, dry skin, skin tags, eczema, psoriasis, lung disease, sleep apnea, your snoring, asthma, some of the cancers like colon cancer, breast cancer, pre-diabetes, type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, kidney disease, heart attacks, strokes. Mind blowing. I was just amazed. I said, why was I not taught on stuff? Fatty liver, cirrhosis, joint disease, rheumatoid arthritis, gout. Again, all are basically metabolic diseases actually. PCOD, most of my students at IIT Bombay, girls, they have PCOD. Extremely high prevalence rate of PCOD. PCOD is nothing but insulin resistance of ovary. Okay. Also low testosterone. So many of the students, because once I took my course 640, I asked all my 80 students to do baseline, labs, and I found that many of them had low testosterone. Then GI problem, reflux, IBD. I have mostly all the patients that we have taken care of. I'm not talking about cancer and neurological condition, but otherwise, most of them, we have basically put a lot of these patients into remission. Okay, many of them are IIT Bombay professors. And of course, there is a very good book which has come out. It's called Brain Energy by Harvard scientist, Harvard psychiatrist. You guys must read it because that book is a revolutionary book. What he's doing is he's basically treating a lot of this resistant schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, a lot of your psychiatric condition just by changing lifestyle. Okay, so it's a very revolutionary book. Okay. Now, so these are the chronic conditions that I learned. Being a pediatrician, we are not taught this disease. But again, when I went into adult nutrition, I learned all these diseases. Okay. Now, if you go with this labs, okay, so doctors over here, maybe intensivist, what would you do to this patient? These are for doctors. What would be your first line of treatment? Lifestyle medication. How about cholesterol 259? You want to do anything? How about cholesterol? LDL cholesterol high. What? Yes, lifestyle. Okay, so we won't worry about cholesterol, but not most of the doctors do that. Right? 99.99% doctors, what would they put them on? Statin. It's a huge market in all the world. Okay? Statin. This is what I had, although I had only one component. Okay? Metabolic syndrome, there are 5 components. You have your waist circumference, you have your high BP. What is high BP? What is high BP? What do you call optimum blood pressure? What is optimum blood pressure? I'm not talking about what is optimum. What would you like your patients to have? What? 110/70. I prefer 110/70. That's the optimum level. Okay. Your fasting blood sugar. What should be the optimum fasting blood sugar? Listen. That's optimum. Not the range, optimum. 80 to 90. I agree totally. If you have even lower, I don't mind. If you have very good metabolic health, it will be lower. Okay. Triglyceride to HDL. Does anybody know what should be the triglyceride and HDL level? What should be the ratio? If you want to have a good metabolic health, what should be the ratio? Triglyceride to HDL. So what do you think? Your triglyceride should be higher than HDL or triglyceride should be lower than HDL? Lower than HDL. So higher? How much higher? What ratio, anybody? Less than 1. Optimum. Okay. Okay. What is the powerhouse? I'm going to take you deep down into cell biology and biochemistry, what we missed learning. We missed learning this, okay? Because it is a very difficult topic for us. Very difficult. Okay. What is this? Who knows electron transport chain? Anybody knows electron transport chain? My IT student knows. Absolutely. With all the protein complexes, she'll tell you how ATP is generated. Okay. This is how we are changing IT Bombay students. Mitochondria, powerhouse of a cell in our body. Why is it called powerhouse? What does it do? It stores energy or it creates energy? It creates it, right? It produces ATP, right? Adenosine triphosphate, ATP, right? If you can hack this, I'm again from Engineering Institute, we are hackers. Okay, because I'm coming from medical background, I'm a medical hacker. Okay, medical doctor hacker. What we want to do is to hack this little organelle called mitochondria. If you can hack this, there is a second thing I would like you to hack, is your gut microbiome. If you can hack your gut microbiome and mitochondria, you will live for 100 years without any disease. Without any disease, I promise. Okay. What is this? Can anybody explain? Doctors will run away if I ask them to explain this. Right? Nutritionists would be very happy. Right? Okay. What is this over here? Sorry, I can't see. What is this over here? Where does acetyl-CoA come from? Does anybody know where does acetyl-CoA come from? Yes, pyruvate. And where does pyruvate come from? Very good. Like who's telling me? Huh? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Very good. Nandish will not say because he has attended. Manindra also wants. Okay. So acetyl-CoA comes from glycolysis, from glucose. What are the source of acetyl-CoA that you know besides glucose? It can come, yes. But before that, okay, very good. Lipid, what kind of lipid? Very good. Yeah, so basically your fatty acids, your long chain fatty acids, it can come. It can also come from short chain fatty acids. Your short chain fatty acids, your ketone bodies can also give you acetyl-CoA. So this, you need to know where to get this acetyl-CoA. If you know that, you will hack your mitochondria. Because this Krebs cycle, where does Krebs cycle occur? Mitochondria, where? Where? In the structure of mitochondria, there's outer membrane, there's inner membrane, and there's a cytosol, right? It's a matrix. So where does Krebs cycle occur? Matrix. Okay. And where does electron transport chain occurs? At the inner membrane of mitochondria. Understood? Just remember this. Okay. Now we want to make sure. I'm going to go a little bit more. Okay. I'm not going to cycle, otherwise you guys get bored. Now you have glycolysis. Okay. Glycolysis means breaking down glucose metabolism. One molecule of glucose will give pyruvate, 2 molecules, right? So that pyruvate will basically get converted into 2 molecules of acetyl-CoA. Acetyl-CoA during Krebs cycle, it enters the Krebs cycle. Okay, and then it will basically make your NADH and FADH2. Okay, and that will pass on, these electrons will pass on to your ETC, electron transport chain. And how many ATPs finally generated from one molecule of glucose? Can somebody tell me how many ATPs? 38 ATPs. How many molecular ATPs? 38. Now let's put. Then what is this? Yes, electron transport chain. You have 5 protein complexes, right? Protein complex 1, 2, 3, 4, and the last one is called ATP synthase. Okay. Now, what is this? What is this? Yes, reactive oxygen species. All cardiologists, endocrinologists, neurologists, all people are very well reactive oxygen species. We need some, it's not that they are all bad, but if it happens in excessive amount, what happens then? When it produces in too much amount, it will cause inflammation. Have you heard of cytokine storms when COVID? Before that, we didn't know what a cytokine, right? When these cytokine storms occur, when you have a lot of inflammation in the body, okay? So if your mitochondria has too much energy going in, what's going to happen now? What is getting generated? Absolutely. And your body can use some amount. So your body has something called glutathione. Remember glutathione? Where is glutathione? In the liver, right? So you have lots of basically antioxidants, which are basically can take care of some amount of ROS. But when you're using too much of energy going into mitochondria, your internal system, you have too much inflammation, you have too much of cytokine storms, and then boom, one fine day you get high blood pressure, one fine day you get diabetes. Okay, I'll go again deeper into how you get it. Now, I'll go back to that, but I want to talk about how do we keep ourselves healthy. Okay, most of the time when you come to us, when I didn't know about nutrition, I would say, go for a walk, exercise, sleep well, this, that, don't eat salt. Okay. I take my words back. It's food, 80% food. If you can basically kind of focus on your food, what you're putting in your mouth, you'll be able to prevent a lot of diseases. Other 20% is your, exercise, stress, sleep, sunlight, exposure to artificial. You don't want too much of artificial sunlight. Okay. Then you also have environmental factor, genetic factor. What I started doing when I got blood pressure, I started asking a lot of questions. Okay. The question, why did I get it? When did I get it? What did I do in past 2-3 months? What did I do in last 1 month? Right. So a lot of those questions I started asking because I knew that blood pressure was basically secondary to something that I did. It was the symptoms. It was not the root cause. So when you go into root cause analysis, you will basically figure out whatever problem that you have, medical problem, you have to know the root cause. Because if you don't understand the root cause, doctors by and large, we are taught pharma. If you have inflammation, put this. If you have this, put this. If you have high blood pressure, take this medicine, suppress your blood pressure. But you have to continue taking your medication all your life, right or wrong. But if you take care of your root cause, the blood pressure is out. Okay, so that's what I learned. Basically, symptoms are not equal to your problem. Okay. Okay. Now let's talk about food. My favorite topic. Okay. Food is any substance which is consumed to provide nutrition support. Right? Right or wrong? Why do we need food? For energy, for activity, for immunity, for your functions, right? Your metabolic functions, your heart, right? Your respiration, your digestion, right? For babies, of course, they need everything, but they also need to grow, right? So right food is very, very important. When you think of food, what we think of, like, I'm sure you guys go to marriages, right? When you go for a marriage, somebody's marriage, what are you interested in? Result. Very good. We're interested in food. We want to know who the heck, forget let them get married, whatever they want to do. Let's go and see what's there for food, right? That's what we do. Something each to get pleasure, right? If there's any birthday party, what do we do? What do we look for? Exactly. If somebody gets into good college, what do we go with? Diwali? Sweets. It's always basic something that you want to treat yourself with, right? Now, after I got my BP, I changed that. So whenever I go to buy any food or whenever I go to a grocery store or when I go to any parties, I always think of that whatever I'm putting in my mouth, whether it's going to help me add more to my life or more health or will it nourish and repair my tissue. Okay, so once I started doing that, my health is improved remarkably. Okay. Again, now back to basics. Okay, which we missed in medical education. We had little bit of knowledge, but not much. So you have macronutrient, which you need in large amount, and you have micronutrient. Okay, macro has carbohydrate, protein, and fats. Micronutrient, you have vitamins and you have minerals. Okay, so again, coming back to basics, carbohydrate is required for what? Energy. Where is energy produced? Right. So all your basically carbohydrate is generating all that energy and basically, helping you to have more energy. Fats. What are fats? What are the biological unit, a building block of fats? Fatty acid. Right? Remember fatty acids? What are different kinds of fatty acids? Some are saying saturated and something a long chain, short chain. Then what are other ways? Very good. What are other ways? Very good. I was looking for that. Essential fatty acids, non-essential fatty acids. What are essential fatty acids? Very good. So omega-3s, omega-6, omega-9. Remember this, omega-3, omega-6, omega-9. I'll go into that also, okay? Why fats are important? Energy. It protects vital organs. It helps with insulation. It gives you warmth, right? When it is important for fat soluble absorption of fat soluble vitamins. Then you have something called protein. Very, very important. Okay. What are the different kinds of protein? Anybody? What are the different kinds of protein? What are complete protein? Very good. So it has all essential amino acids. So you have something called essential amino acids. You have something called essential fatty acid. Why is it called essential? I'll let other people also talk. Why essential? Yes, they're not made in the body. It is needed for food. Okay. So protein is important basically for tissue maintenance, repair, your immunity, your hormones, your enzymes, transport, storage. Okay. What are essential carbohydrates? Anybody? Because you mentioned about essential amino acids. We mentioned about essential fats. What are essential carbohydrates? Can you name one? This. None. Why? You just mentioned none. Why we don't have essential carbohydrates? Because it is. Huh? From protein, we can say. Because it is produced in liver. Your liver makes it. Okay, so that's why in chemistry, any book, you won't find anything which is essential carbohydrate. Your liver is making it. Okay, what is this? Chemistry. CH2O. Carbohydrate. Okay, this is the molecular structure of a carbohydrate, CH2O. Now, simple carbohydrate. So there are different kind of carbohydrate. You have simple, you have and complex. Remember that? Easy, no? Simple and complex. Simple means you have one molecule with two molecules. Right? So each molecule is called saccharide. So you have monosaccharide, you have disaccharide, and you have polysaccharide. Easy? Right? So basically each molecule is, I would call it sugars. Okay? So this is your monosaccharide. One molecule, you have two molecule combination disaccharide. Okay? What are simple monosaccharides? Glucose, fructose, galactose, dextrose. Right? Doctors will know this. Right? Then you have two molecule, which is your glucose. What is sucrose, by the way? What is sucrose? Table sugar. Excellent. Table sugar. What are other sugars which has sucrose? Jaggery. Honey has mainly fructose. Yeah, honey is mainly fructose. So basically, sucrose is table sugar, which has one molecule of glucose and one molecule of fructose. What is this? Chains of. What are these chains of? Yeah, but what are these monosaccharides? Name it. Very good. Glucose is the chain of glucose. Got it? Okay. Now these are different three types of polysaccharide. You have cellulose. Cellulose is your cell wall of plant, right? That's a plant that you eat, right? That's a cell wall. So that's your cellulose. Then you have starches, right? And then you have glycogen. Doctors will tell you about glycogen. What is glycogen? Storage form of glucose, right? Storage form. So here do you have, this is a cellulose, cell wall of plant cell. Then you have starches, right? Starches are present in what? What are the starch? Corn, potato, rice, grain, bread, everything. Glycogen is a stored form of glucose stored where? Liver and your perfect. Okay. Now remember, whenever you take disaccharide or polysaccharide, it has to basically get cleaved into monosaccharide. It has to get cleaved. Okay. So that means your whatever kind of sugar that you're eating, does not matter, simple sugars or complex sugars, it has to get cleaved into monosaccharide. Okay. So what were the monosaccharides I mentioned? There were 4 monosaccharides: glucose, fructose, galactose, and dextrose. Very good. Now you have disaccharide. So I'm going to focus on disaccharide also. What is maltose? 2 molecular glucose. Which food has maltose? Malt, yes. So which food has malt? Bonvita, Complan, your Horlicks, right? These are your 2 molecular glucose. Okay. Sucrose we already mentioned. What is lactose? Glucose and galactose, right? So again, 2 molecular, 1 molecular glucose, 1 molecular galactose. Okay, now let's talk about different names of sugars. What are different names? Your blood sugar. So when you go to doctor, what do doctors check? Blood sugar. Okay. What is blood sugar? What kind of monosaccharide doctor is looking at in the blood? Then table sugar. Sucrose I mentioned already, the jaggery or sugar. Okay. Now the time we are told that no. Sugar is not good, but jaggery is good. It's both. They are sucrose. Okay. All right. Fructose. Fructose is your fruit sugar. Maltose, malt sugar, which comes from grain. The lactose, milk sugar, which comes from milk. Okay. Remember that any kind of sugar you have, it gets absorbed in the form of monosaccharide. Okay. Now, that means basically when you're eating carbohydrate, you're eating sugar because it has to cut down into maybe glucose or galactose or, fructose. Got it? One of the problems, if you look at all these names, bone sugar, blood sugar, fruit sugar, malt sugar, milk sugar, starch, sugar. Okay. Problem with eating any kind of sugar. Okay. I'm not just talking science. You will have increase in your blood glucose level. Okay. Mainly I'm talking about glucose, right? So when you have any food which increases the blood sugar, there is a hormone which gets secreted. This is not for doctors, non-doctors. Okay. There is a hormone. जैसे वो blood sugar बढ़ता है, there is a hormone in our body. Do you know which hormone gets secreted when the blood glucose rises? Insulin. Why? Why nature has created insulin? Does anybody know? Rise in blood sugar is detrimental to the lining of blood vessels. What happens when you have a patient with hyperglycemia, 500? What do we do? We are so immediately we have to bring that, as soon as possible. Because the first thing it does, it causes damage to the lining of your blood vessels. Which 2 blood vessels I'm really concerned of? Coronary artery and? Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so basically your diabetes is nothing but vasculitis, causing inflammation. Okay, so here basically what there are many articles which are coming out, and they're saying that atherosclerosis, the beginning of atherosclerosis is because of constant hyperglycemia causing damage to your inner lining of coronary artery, and that's when your cholesterol comes in and try to heal it. Okay, and then there is a calcium deposition to seal it. right? If there is any detriment or damage to your blood vessels, it has to heal. Okay, so cholesterol, the LDL cholesterol, which are oxidized LDL cholesterol, gets attracted. Okay, and it is seen in those plaque. Okay, but those are more, I would call more as a policeman. So if a fire or a firefighter, so if there is a fire, and if you see a firefighter, it doesn't mean the firefighter has doused this thing. You understand what I'm saying, right? Okay. Now, I think this was a very good article which was published in the British Medical Journal. Basically, it was a good article, and it basically talked about how insulin resistance can cause inflammation. Okay, and insulin resistance also a cause of many other condition like hypertension and all. Okay. Okay, now let's talk about, this is for doctors. Okay, now this is hyperglycemia through various pathways causes inflammation in reactive oxygen species. So look at those different pathways. Okay, that's why we are, Dr. Satish, that's why we have endocrinologists to make sure that we don't have hyperglycemia in patients who have diabetes, right? But look at this, when they have hyperglycemia, and it's not necessarily just in diabetic patients. We can also have increased high blood glucose. Okay, so here through different pathways, you see all this red colors, all basically ROS. And the last thing, if you look at your last line, you can see there is a mitochondrial dysfunction. Now your mitochondria is getting affected. Okay. Okay. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about insulin. But what is insulin? Insulin is a hormone, of course, polypeptide hormone, secreted from beta cells of pancreas. Extremely important hormone. And I want you guys to basically respect this hormone very much because it is very, very essential to our lives. Okay? Because if we cause damage to the beta cell of pancreas, we will be on injections. Okay? So what is the function of insulin receptor? Insulin is telling you that as soon as the blood glucose level rises, it tells all the cells to take up that glucose, and basically it tells cells to take up that glucose. So when it does, what happens to the blood glucose level? It comes down. Okay. So here, this is the beautiful, animated video where insulin is basically telling nucleus to get this glucose channels, and it is allowing the glucose molecule to enter the cells. Now, which cells have insulin receptors? Do you guys know? Which organs have insulin receptors in the body? Do you think brain has? No, brain doesn't have. Anybody over here? Which organs have insulin receptors? Because insulin is important for, muscles, liver, adipose, all the organs, all of them. Okay, and in America now, many scientists are calling one disease as type 3 diabetes mellitus. Alzheimer's called type 3. And now scientists are calling type 4 diabetes also. Do you know what is type 4 diabetes? PCOD. Yes. Okay. All right. Now, this is again insulin signal. Insulin is a signaling molecule, okay, which has a lot of functions. So it's not that I'm not kind of against insulin, but look at insulin. Basically, what it does, it helps with fatty acid synthesis, helps with glycogen synthesis, okay, and it helps with protein synthesis. So these are all the functions that you require insulin for, okay. Okay, now the function of insulin. If you can understand this, we again have to health. Okay, so what is the function of insulin? One thing I mentioned that insulin will, what will it do to your blood glucose level? It will stimulate your uptake of glucose by cell. Okay, then it will help extra glucose. It will help to convert into storage form of glucose. What is storage form of glycogen? Right, so it causes glycogenesis. It prevents liver to produce more glucose. So it is preventing glycogenesis. Why? Because inhibiting glucose by mouth. Right? So when your insulin is high, you don't require gluconeogenesis. Right? What is the other thing? Now you you have extra energy coming in, right? Extra glucose. Now glycogen storage is done because you can't store more than maybe 2 to 3 milligrams of glycogen. And what happens now? Yes, now the extra energy that you're eating, it is getting converted into fat. Yes, absolutely. So basically, extra energy. Okay. Now when you have high amount of insulin, your fat is getting stored as a fat. Now you say it is fat, but because you have high insulin level, basically what is lipolysis? Breaking down of fat. Now you have excessive fats in the liver and in the body, and you want to get rid of the fat. What will you do? Get the fat out of your fat cells. Which hormone will hamper? Insulin. So when you want to get fat out of your liver and the body or your adipose tissue, you will have to keep your insulin level low. As easy as that. Okay. Okay. Coming back to biochemistry. Okay. Here you have your glucose. Somebody told me that it gets converted to pyruvate, goes into acetyl-CoA, gets converted to acetyl-CoA. Okay. And this is the TC cycle. Remember this TC cycle mentioned. Okay. Now, second mediator is citrate. Citrate, basically, this is fatty acid synthesis. This is how your glucose gets converted into palmitate. What is palmitate? What kind of fatty acid? Saturated fatty acids. And where does it get deposited? Because you now glucose, extra glucose getting converted into the fatty acid. Where does this fatty acid get stored? Yes, liver, muscles, and subtle fat. Okay. Are you guys with me? Okay. Okay. A little bit more. Okay. So you have your glucose. Okay. Glucose entering your cells, converting into glycogen. You see that? Okay. Now you have glucose entering your pyruvate. This is mitochondria. Some amount of the citrate will come out and will produce what? What is that? At the end? Triglyceride. It gets converted into triglyceride. So your palmitate was there. The palmitate is a triglyceride, saturated fatty acid. Saturated. That saturated fatty acid is bad. Okay. The one which gets converted from glucose, that saturated fatty acid is definitely bad. It's very inflammatory. Okay. So now you have triglyceride. Now triglyceride is a fat. When it has to come into the blood vessel, because it is lipid, it is, what is it? It is hydrophobic. Phobic means it will, it's like, it will not like blood. So it has to carry into a boat. What is a boat called? It has to get covered into hydrophilic protein, right? What is it called? Lipoprotein. What are the lipoproteins that we have? Yes, chylomicrons, VMDL, HDL, and LDL. So triglyceride, which is coming from liver, okay, what lipoprotein does it carry? So if you want to look at your labs, look at so VMDL is high, that means that fat is coming from where? Okay. Okay, I'll go again deep into the science. Insulin resistance. So let's talk about insulin resistance. Pancreas, adipose tissue, liver, insulin, your muscle cells. Okay, when you have everything working fine, everything nice and good, your pancreas will secrete insulin, will basically from adipose tissue, liver tissue, muscle tissue, right? Everything looks good. Your adipose tissue basically converts some amount of glucose into triglyceride. It is called de novo lipogenesis, DNL. Remember this? lipogenesis. And lipogenesis is important because some amount of lipokines, which are very good, adipokines, those are all the cytokine produced from your fat cells, improves insulin sensitivity. So everything is happy. Every organ is happy. Okay. Now we have, say, some amount of carbohydrate. Fine. Nothing happens. Everything is good. Not too much. Every hour if you are hungry, had some bites, had some nuts, had some milk, had some chai, had some coffee, right? All that. Okay. Then what happens now? You have excessive amount of sugar entering your body. I'm not talking about table sugar. I'm talking about general. Okay, your carbs. Okay. Now what is happening? Too much sugar entering. Your insulin will have to work harder. Insulin will increase. Okay. Now the fat cells are saying, I cannot become big. I can become fat. Okay. I don't need space for glucose. Right. So now what will happen? Now all that sugar, extra sugar is going where? To the liver. Now we have chai, right? Fructose. It could be chai, it could be anything. Fructose. It goes directly into liver. It doesn't go into blood. Do you know why it doesn't go into the blood? It goes directly into liver. Why it doesn't go in the blood? Huh? No. Because fructose is not used as a source of energy. Remember, fructose is not used as a source of energy. Okay. In fact, in fructose metabolism, it takes energy through cyclic ATP pathway. It is used. It does not give ATP. Okay. Did you guys know this? Okay. Okay. Now you have too much sugar. You guys had one cup of chai, then after half an hour, another cup of chai, right? More fructose. Now the punches of the liver, right? Now other factors come in. Sedentary lifestyle, okay, omega-6 fatty acids, poor exercise, low sleep, everything, low vitamin D, smoking, then you get kick on the backside. And that basically causes what? Muscle resistance. So your, insulin resistance of your muscle means your muscles are not taking up insulin, okay, or your glucose. So now you develop insulin resistance. So far, your cells were really trying hard to keep your glucose level normal at the expense of high insulin level. Okay, so now you have a lot of inflammation in the adipose tissue. I want to talk a little bit more about this part. Okay, now do you know the difference between Indian phenotype and Caucasian phenotype? What is the difference between Indian and Caucasian, like a body structure? Anybody? So we have something called thrifty gene, genetic thrifty gene. Have you heard of thrifty gene? Right? That means when we eat a lot of food, we do not become fat. We do not. In America, we have people who become 500 pounds. In fact, our babies are born 4.5 kgs. So when I came to India, I said, "Bachche ki 2.5 kilo ke 2 kilos," because the babies are born in America. People are also huge, 500, 400 pounds. Here we don't have that. We develop visceral fat much earlier on. Why? What is the difference between our fat cells and their fat cells? Does anybody know? Doctors, do you know the difference between the fat cells, our fat cells and their fat cells? They are protected. No, what we have, they have a capacity to multiply. So their fat cells multiply. It causes hyperplasia. What we do, we don't have a capacity to do hyperplasia of fat cells. We expand. So our fat cells become hypertrophy. It becomes big. Now, when you have a fat cells which become hypertrophy, the inner part of the fat cells do not get blood supply. You understand? Because we don't make small fat like Americans do. Okay. So what happens when you have a big, large fat cell, the inner part gets necrosis. Necrosis means poor blood supply. When you have necrosis, then what comes in? Macrophages. And that macrophages cause what? Cytokine storms. So who was at high risk of dying when COVID came in? people who had a lot of inflammatory fat cells. And that is when you get inflammatory fat cells, in what cases? Insulin resistance. Got it? So far, your blood glucose is controlled, perfect control. When you go to doctor, this HbA1c fine, don't worry. Fasting glucose fine, don't worry. We never check what, right? Here, this everything is fine. Now, the liver is really trying hard. Okay, break free. All your glucose output from the liver. Okay, glucose, liver doesn't have space. Removes glucose. Okay, now you go to doctor. What happens? Mr. So-and-so, this whole process takes how many years? This whole process takes about 11 years. We have to start checking fasting insulin because we want to see at what level of insulin your blood glucose is normal. Okay? And we want to detect insulin resistance in early cases, not in the late stage. Because when it comes to late stage, then zero. It's for you all. Okay? Okay, now let's talk about trophy. I spoke about trophy, right? Thin outside, fat inside. So here you have an obese person. You can see this love handles. Okay, and here's the liver. What is the color of the liver? Again, for non-medicals, it's almost dark, right? Black. No liver fat. Obese person, but no fat in the liver. Means this patient is metabolically healthy. Okay, and the second person who has fatty liver. So you look at the liver, look at it's the same color as the fat. So that person, he's obese, but he has metabolic syndrome. He has liver fat, fatty liver. And then the third person, somebody like me. Okay, okay, but look at the liver. Understood? This is called trophy. So that's why a lot of you patients who are from villages, they're extremely thin. But what do they have? Okay. Let's see. Now, hormonal effect. Are you guys with me? Or, yeah, okay. Hormonal effect on the body, very important. Again, not taught much when we were in medical college. We have different kinds of cells in our gut. Okay, we produce different hormones in the gut. Okay, so there are K cells which are present in the duodenum. Then you have L cells which are present, a little bit lower down in intestine. When you eat food which is high in carbohydrate and when you eat fat and carbohydrate combo, there are some hormones which get secreted which causes insulin surge. It will make you hungry. So if you're hungry every 2 hours, you're eating either plain carbohydrate, polysaccharide, rice, your starch, or you're eating fat and glucose combo. What is a fat and glucose combo that you know? Any sweet, of course, any sweet. Anything else? Probably medu vada, right? All fried and your glucose, right? And then you have other foods that you eat. Like, for example, if you eat food which is protein and fat, okay, it will cause satiety. Means it will not cause you hunger. If you're not hungry, you won't eat, right? Will you eat when you're completely full? So this is what we want to do. Now I want to come back to fructose because fructose is another issue which we need to really tackle in India, all over the world, but especially in India. Fructose issue is it is 7 times more likely to form advanced glycation products. What are advanced glycation products? Tell me one molecule which is glycated. HbA1c. Right? It's your basically glycated hemoglobin. Glycation is the attachment of sugar molecule to protein of the lipid molecule. Okay? So when the sugar gets attached, it gets oxidized very fast. Sugar, it's detrimental, not only to blood vessels, to basically a lot of your molecules. Okay? When you have too much of AGE, what happens? Do you know what are the symptoms of AGE? Increased advanced glycation products. Wrinkling. Your skin will start wrinkling. Women, you don't want that, right? Wrinkling, lot of other problems, right? It causes Maillard reaction. You guys know Maillard reaction? What is browning effect? When we are born, our bones are literally white in color. But at the age of, 30, 40, 50, 60, it becomes more browner and browner. Okay, that's called Maillard reaction. Basically, causes browning effect. Has a lot of detrimental complications. It does not suppress ghrelin. What is ghrelin? Hunger hormone. It does not suppress ghrelin. You have sucrose, you won't feel hungry. I mean, you feel hungry every hour. It does not stimulate insulin because it does not enter blood vessels. Okay, it causes the hepatic metabolism is different than glucose. Okay, and the chronic exposure leads to metabolic syndrome. Okay, now again, coming back to biochemistry. I love this topic, huh? That's why I'm going back into biochemistry. We had missed all this stuff. So here, this is your fructose. This is a cyclic AMP pathway. What is the end product? What is the end product? Okay, now where do you think of, when you think of uric acid, what do you think of? Gout. And what will we taught in medicine? When you have gout, when the patient with gout comes, what do? प्रोटीन काम इसलिए ये नहीं बोला कि फ्रुक्टोज से भी होता है majority is by fructose. Okay, majority is by fructose. It's not by protein. Anyway, our protein intake is very low. I'll come back to protein and I'll make sure I will prove to you guys that your protein content is less than half. So it's not protein which causes uric acid. Okay. Okay, here again is another one. It's from American Diabetic Association. This article is really good. Okay, just got published, 2023. Okay, fructose gets converted into your uric acid, and uric acid basically will cause mitochondrial steatosis. Then eventually get converted into triglyceride. But fructose also gets converted into triglyceride directly through aldolase B pathway. So your fructose directly goes into the liver and gets converted into triglyceride. More triglyceride means more fatty liver. Okay, more fatty liver means more problem. Now here is another same article. Here your fructose is entering your liver. Okay, so this is your fructose entering the liver, and what is it doing? Increasing uric acid. Now what does uric acid do in the body? Why uric acid is not good? What does it do? First thing what it does, it decreases nitric oxide. Now, why is nitric oxide important in our body? Vasodilation. So when you have nitric oxide deficiency, what is it going to do? Vasoconstriction. This is what I had. I had this. I had nitric oxide deficiency because I was eating a lot of fructose. I was a fructose. So that's when my triglycerides were high. As soon as I realized this pathway, I stopped my fructose, I stopped a lot of glucose that I was eating, I removed a lot of fat from my liver. Within 2 weeks, my blood pressure from 150 to 100 came to 90 over 60. It took 2 weeks to get rid of fatty liver. Okay, I called my uncle, who was an interventional cardiologist in the US, very famous. So I told my uncle, my uncle, business, I will have the patient for 3 weeks. And now my blood pressure is 60. He said, immediately increase your salt. I said, no, but I should come in. Increase the salt. Salt. And he said, continue diet, whatever you eat. It is maintain blood pressure. So blood pressure became 110 over 70. So I treated my blood pressure not by medicine. I treated by biochemistry. I understood the root cause. So that nitric oxide is very important. So if you have any patient who are hypertensive, basically that patient has fatty liver and has nitric oxide deficiency. So rather than just antihypertensive medication, change his diet. You will see the difference. Promise. Okay. One thing what it does, it causes inflammation in the adipocytes. Okay. And it also causes beta cell problem. Again, going back, you guys know this already. Fructose, same thing. You can see fructose causing your inflammation, okay, hepatic insulin resistance. Fructose, some amount of fructose get converted into glucose, okay, through gluconeogenesis pathway. Over here, it comes back to fructose going to your, converting into pyruvate, okay, and it causing triglyceride, increase in your liver. Kraft test. Anybody knows Kraft test, doctors? Have you guys heard of Kraft test? Okay. Anybody has heard about glucose tolerance test? Anybody? Okay, this is Dr. Kraft. The glucose tolerance test came from his study. Okay, Dr. Kraft. What he did, he was a pathologist. He used to get all these glucose tolerance tests in his labs. Okay, so what he did, he studied almost 15,000 patients. Okay, so besides checking blood glucose level, he started checking insulin level. He wanted to see that what were the different patterns of insulin. Because the glucose tolerance test, normally what we check is we check the glucose at every half an hour, 1 hour, right? So he did insulin check. So he found that some patient who had this kind of curve, didn't find there was no issue. But then what he found that few patients had this kind of insulin patterns. Okay. And then we followed this 15,000 patients for almost 11 to 12 years. We wanted to see that who are the ones who are developing diabetes in the next 10 or 11 years. And that's what we did. And we found that a pattern 4 who had 48% risk of developing diabetes 11 years later. Now, when you want to diagnose your diabetes, today or after 11 years? So what I recommend is please get your fasting insulin checked for sure with your fasting sugar. Okay. Okay. Now let's talk about how much sugar we are eating. Got it? What are these? This is only 75. There are 250 now. 250 items. And if you go to packaged food, then you see no added sugar. But what they don't write, they add maltodextrin, they add a lot of other sugars. Just because they don't add table sugar, they say no added sugar. Don't get fooled. Don't get fooled. Okay. A lot of time I get a lot of patients. I have now 250 patients that have put a lot of disease in remission just by hacking the mitochondria. Okay. So here, a lot of patients said, can I have coconut sugar? Can I have palm sugar? Can I have the dates? Can I have this? It's all sugar. It's all fructose basically. This is okay. Now, this is for your adolescent patients because a lot of adolescents, they love to have Coke, they love to have this fruit juice, fruit juice, all that. Look at the last line, carbohydrate, 1 serving, okay? 1 serving that, per 100 I'm talking about. Yeah, so this is carbohydrate per serving, okay? Minimum packet. Coca-Cola is 33 grams of sugar, which is how many teaspoons can somebody tell me? Yeah, so your sugar, normal sugar is a smaller teaspoon, which is about 4 grams, right? You don't take the big one. So that 1 4-gram teaspoon, so 33 grams is how many? 9 teaspoon. Would you put 9 teaspoon in your tea? But we're giving it to children, okay? All right. Here. Now, this is created by Dr. David Unwin. He's a very famous family physician in the UK. And he's created this chart because for 20 years, he's reversing people's diabetes. Okay. So his all this, whatever that he has created is accepted by NICE guideline of UK. Okay. So what he did, he put basically basmati rice, just half bati of basmati cooked rice, half bati, not more, only half bati. Okay. Look at the equivalent sugar that half bati basmati rice has. How many? Okay. Potato. Our children love potatoes, no? Aloo bhaji, aloo thing, aloo masala. Right? How many teaspoons? Only 150 grams. 9 teaspoons of sugar. It's glucose, basically. It's plain glucose. Right? Your spaghetti. I used to love spaghetti to my daughter. I didn't know this insulin resistant. This was 7 years ago. And look at how much sugar has to give her, right? If you look at your frozen peas, so all your vegetables which are grown above the ground, no sugar. It's all cellulose. Have it. Okay. Look at your broccoli or your cauliflower, cabbage. How much sugar? Hardly any sugar. Have it. Okay. But eggs. Look at the eggs. How much sugar? Keep your insulin low as possible. As you keep your insulin level low, what will start happening now? Lipolysis, right? So you want to become thin, keep your insulin level low. Okay. Now here is your bread. I will talk white rotis. We have rotis, no? Or puris, right? Whether you have Madeka puri or your wheat puris, is there any difference? Not much. Sugar level is pretty much the same, right? Oatmeal, I used to have a lot more oatmeal. And this is only one bread I'm talking about, or one roti, medium size. So one medium size is 3.5 teaspoon. If you have 3 rotis, how many teaspoons sugar are you eating? We never end up eating only one roti or one puri, do we? Right? Okay, now look at oatmeal. Oatmeal, one serving is only 2 tablespoons. Okay? Like just 2 tablespoons. Huh? Now, when we eat oatmeal, it's always not just 1 or 2 tablespoons. We have like almost 1 bati. That 1 bati is how many tablespoons? Right? Almost 10. One tablespoon or 2 tablespoons is 10 spoon. So with 10 tablespoons, we have 130. Right? Very pure starch. These are all your raisins. A lot of people ask me, can I have raisins? Can I have this? Can I have that? Look at the amount of sugar. Please avoid your desiccated fruits. It's nothing but fructose. Nothing but fructose. You don't get anything. Okay? It's plain sugar. And fructose is going directly in the liver. Okay? Tell patients to have fruit which are low in sugar. If you can't tolerate, if you're insulin resistant, you will not be able to tolerate. And the reason I'm saying, because many of my patients, they were CGM. Many of my patients were CGM. And immediately they had something, because obviously, a lot of times we say, okay, have ragi. One of my patients who CGM had ragi. Her blood glucose went to 300. Right? And that you are just maybe 3 or 4 bites. So what I'm saying is, if you really want to treat your patients and if they have access, tell them to wear CGM, because you will tell them exactly how much sugar is rising. Okay. Look at all these bananas. 1 banana, 6 teaspoons. Avoid bananas, even children. Okay. Apple juice. People, even a lot of mothers, especially those educated mothers, they love to give juice to the children. Oh, it's freshly squeezed juice. It's nothing but a pure fructose. And only of apple juice or orange juice will have this much of a sugar. Please tell children to eat. Eating is okay. Drinking is not okay. Don't drink the sugar at all. Okay. Okay. Now these are all Kellogg's and GM product. Okay, it is coming to India. It has already come to India. Please avoid this, because all this ultra processed food is loaded and it's only 30 grams, with only 2 tablespoons. Our children don't eat 2 tablespoons, they eat big vati, right? Look at the amount of sugar. And this is from high fructose corn syrup, extremely high fructose. Okay, these are not plain sugar. These are some of the products, again from Dr. David Unwin's, chart, and you can see that 100 grams of each food has how many teaspoons of sugar. You have to be careful, okay? Because India is struggling with diabetes, India is struggling with all these issues. Now, symptoms of insulin resistance. How do you know if you have insulin resistance or not? First of all, as soon as you eat, you'll be sleepy. You'll be like, then you'll be hungry every 2 hours. You hunger pangs. Oh, I just had an unlimited one. Or you constantly thinking of food. Constantly thinking of food. Okay. When you start putting in weight over here, mid belly, but I didn't have that, but still I developed. Okay. Then I have high blood pressure. If your blood pressure is rising above 110 over 70, you should start thinking, your high triglyceride, low HDL level. Okay, I won't go deep into it. So what I'm going to do, I will give 5 minutes break, because this is another big topic, lipid. Okay, and I will go deep into cholesterol and all that. Okay, so I'll give you 5 minutes, 7 minutes break. If anybody has any question now, let me know. But otherwise, we'll come back and I will take questions at the end of the lecture. But is it difficult to understand, or it's easy? Okay. So, should I continue? Yeah, should I continue? Is it too much? No. Because I can go on for 10 hours like this. I love to teach. Okay, so here is in the pit. What is this? Easy? Cell? Yeah, I can only see mitochondria. Okay. Now I'm showing cell. Every cell has a cell membrane, right? You remember cell membrane? And every cell membrane is made up of what? Yes, yes. Basically, every cell membrane is lipid. Okay, so cell membrane have a bilayer of phospholipids. Okay, there is one structure in our brain. Okay, which requires a lot of lipid. Which is the structure in your brain? Myelin sheet. Myelin sheet is all lipids. Okay, so do not afraid lipid. Okay, your brain is made up of lipid. Do you know what is the percentage of brain that is made up of lipid? Lipid is fat. 50%. 50% of your brain is made up of fat. And when the brain is being formed, you don't tell mothers to have low fat diet. You know, because babies require that. Even your breast milk has very high lipid. Did you guys know? Very high, extremely high in fat. Okay, these are all the different lipids that we need in our body, which your body definitely makes it. But here, you have all these lipids. What is this? Cholesterol. Cholesterol gets converted into testosterone and estrogen and your vitamin D required cholesterol. Okay, so if you don't have enough cholesterol, your body will make it. This is a cholesterol molecule. Extremely important. Okay, so your human male can produce up to 1 gram of cholesterol per day. How much? Why human makes it? Why liver makes it? Because it is extremely essential for the life. If anybody who has deficiency in cholesterol, okay, they will die. You cannot survive if your body can't make cholesterol. Okay. Another thing is basically all your cell membrane, pretty much everything requires cholesterol. Even what it does, it is part of your cell membrane. Okay. So if you don't have cholesterol in cell membrane, the cell membrane will not have a fluidity. Something, whatever increase in size, it will break. Anything happens, it will break. So to maintain it fluidity requires cholesterol. Okay, for neuron fibers, because it's myelin sheet, very rich in cholesterol. Okay, so if you don't have food which is high in cholesterol, it will cause demyelinating diseases. Okay, Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis, lot of those disease. My father-in-law, he was a neurologist, he never had cholesterol, and he had Parkinson's disease. He died of Parkinson's. Very thin person. He was very strict. He was only too fast because that was a criteria guideline. I felt so bad when I heard this. Anyway, so this are all cholesterol molecules. Please respect your fat cells. Okay, it has many functions. Insulin sensitive, lipid storage, secretory functions. It has a lot of functions. So please respect your fat cells. Don't overburden them. Now, looking at fat metabolism, how we spoke about glucose metabolism, and then go into fat metabolism. Okay, so here is your lipoprotein. Remember, I spoke about lipoprotein. It carries your, your cholesterol. It carries your fatty acids, your triglycerides, all that. Okay, here you can get fat from two sources. Which are these two sources? From mouth and from liver, right? So the one which comes from your food, basically that gets carried in a chylomicron. Okay, and that chylomicron will provide triglyceride, whatever that it needs, cholesterol to all the different organs. Okay, then you have fat coming from liver. All the extra energy you have, if you give a chance for liver to get rid of that fat, you will what will come out from liver? VLDL. Okay, VLDL will get converted into intermediate density lipoprotein, will get converted into LDL, low density lipoprotein. Okay, there are two kinds of LDL. What are two kinds of LDL? One is a large, fluffy LDL, which is good LDL, good LDL. Another one, which is small, dense LDL. If I don't think we have the capacity to look at whether it's small, dense, or whether it's large. So what doctors do, we just look at the LDL level and say, oh, LDL is high. No, heart attacks. Okay, but what we are not realizing that the small dense LDL, it occurs because of high triglyceride, low HDL, insulin resistance, inflammation. So if you have insulin resistance, I would definitely worry about the LDL. But if you don't have insulin resistance, I'm not worried about it because I know it's a large floppy LDL. You understand what I'm saying? So do not treat just LDL. We have to look at in context of obesity, inflammation, all that LDL will be harmful. Okay. So when you have HDL, very good cholesterol, it's a high density lipoprotein which carries a good cholesterol. Why is it good? Because it carries it. Basically, it is a reverse transport HDL or a lipoprotein. It carries a lot of this bad cholesterol, which oxidized cholesterol, back to the liver. So it is basically doing the recycling. So HDL is good. So you have okay. In what conditions that HDL increases? When you go to doctors, what will doctors tell you to increase your HDL? What to do? I was doing a lot of exercise. My HDL was only 39. I was doing a lot of exercise, 2 hours. How much exercise to do, yaar? I'll tell you what I did. Okay. So I want to go a little bit detail into fats, okay? Because now we are afraid of fats. Now we say, ye khana hai, nahi khana hai. Ye khana hai, nahi khana hai. Okay. So I'm going to take a little bit more detail into fats. What are types of lipids? You have fats, oil, waxes, and steroids. Okay. You have saturated fat, you have unsaturated fat, right? Then you have, what is saturated fat? In saturated fat, you don't have double bonds. Okay. In unsaturated fat, you have double bonds. Do you see this double bond over there? And in trans fat, so the middle part is called cis. This means your H molecule is on the same side. When the H molecule goes on the opposite side, it's called trans. What is trans fat also called? What a trans fat? डालडा का नाम सुना? डालडा, सच्ची डालडा, वनस्पति घी, घी ना, what वनस्पति डालडा. Okay, all right. So here is your saturated fat. Okay, there are no double bonds. You see between atoms there are no double bonds, right? Straight line. But in unsaturated fatty acids there is a double bond. Can you see the double bond over there? And what happens in the double bond? What happens in double bond? See the difference. No, but why? What happens in double bond? What is happening? Kinking. So wherever there is a double bond, what happens? Kinking. Whenever you have kinking, that means it's very unstable. Okay, and those kinking causes fat at room temperature. They are liquid. So all your oils are what? Unsaturated fatty acids. And all solid fats, okay, those are basically your butter, your wax, those are all saturated fatty acids because there is no kinking. Got it? That's the difference. I'll tell you now. What is this? Do you see double bond? Do you see that's your saturated fatty acids. Okay. What are these? These are 3 molecular fatty acids attached to glycerol molecule. So this is what? This is triglyceride. Remember I spoke about triglyceride? Where does it get stored, triglyceride? Liver, muscle cells, fat cells, everywhere, right? So this is basically the way we stored fat is this. The saturated, palmitate is saturated triglyceride. Okay, no kinking. This is your saturated fat. There's no kinking at all. So it can basically kind of join without any, in a compact way. Okay, and that's why saturated fats are solid. Okay, now what is solid? What else is solid at room temperature? Do you know? Trans fat. When you have trans fat, when your H molecule is across your carbon molecule, across your double bond, those are also very solid at room temperature. Okay, and do you know that all your pastries, your bakeries, they use trans fat because trans fat is solid at room temperature. So when they put in the cookies, this cookie remain nice and crispy. So when I go to CFPRI, I always tell you, don't put trans fat. They're putting trans fat in all the food that you're eating. Your Parle-G has trans fat, your cookies, your good days, everything has trans fat. And you're eating dalda. Do you guys eat dalda at home? तो आप तो खाते हो pastries at all cream होता है ना, that is all cream is all dalda. You understand what I'm saying? When you go to any highway shop or highway, those shops or food eatery, what do you think they're putting? Do you think they're putting ghee? Ghee, right? Vegetable ghee. Please understand. This is your health. Okay, this is unsaturated fatty acid, double bond between two carbon atoms. Okay, kinking. You see this? Okay, a lot of kinking. Okay, now let's see. Now different oils, and let's see what are this kinking thing. Okay, now what is monounsaturated fatty acid? Mono means what? One double bond. What is mono? What is PUFA? Polyunsaturated fatty acid. PUFA. Poly. Many. Okay, but you rather have zero saturated. I mean, what do you rather have? Zero bond, one bond, or many bond? Now remember, no bond means very stable fat. Even if you increase the temperature, it will not change the position. But the one which was PUFA or many monounsaturated fatty acid, when you heat it up, it changes the structure. How it changes structure? It becomes trans fat. So when you have your soya oil, your corn oil, canola oil, when as soon as you heat it up, and again you heat it up, what is going to do now? It has become dalda. So when you have your bendi vada and all that, do you think they change the oil every hour or every half an hour? Do you think they change it? So what are they boiling in? Now you know why heart attacks happen. Okay. All right. So let's say coconut oil. So more saturated means more stable. Okay. More better. Coconut oil, how much saturated fat? 85. Monounsaturated, hardly anything, not much. Okay. Polyunsaturated PUFA, which is very unstable, hardly anything. What do I eat? What do you think I eat? Means वो जो हमारे ancestors जो खाते थे, those perfect. Don't buy these latest, refined oils, this soya oil, corn oil, Look at this soya oil, right? Soya oil. How much saturated fat? Only. Then how much is your mono? Look at PUFA, polyunsaturated fat. How much? Yeah. PUFA, how much? 56. Avoid anything which has a lot of PUFA. So avoid all these oils which has a lot of PUFAs. Which oil has the highest amount of PUFA? Then which oil has highest amount of PUFA? Safflower. Oil is safola, na? Heart healthy safola. It's not heart healthy. It's heart attack of safola. Okay? Ghee is awesome. So ghee, this is butter, no? Ghee, we can see this. Butter is ghee only, na? Right? Look at ghee. Saturated, monounsaturated, very low amount of polyunsaturated. And cholesterol, very important. So I increase my HDL by eating coconut oil. I eat what my dada used to eat. Groundnut I don't eat much because groundnut does have it's PUFA. If you don't like, then you can use some amount of groundnut oil, but don't refine, because once it goes to refinery, it goes through the chemical processes. So when you have kachi ghani, mustard oil is fine, but I still tell them to use coconut, butter or ghee. At least bagar they can do, no? But not to fry into mustard oil. Okay, so this is what now omegas. Not going too much in detail, but omega is basically what do you see? This is the chain fatty acid, right? And this are basically omegas. Omega 1, omega 2, omega 3. So whenever you have any double bond starting from that end, that is called omega 3 fatty acids. So basically, this particular bond started from the third carbon atom from the other side, okay, from the omega side, that is called omega 3. So these are all the different omega 3, omega 6. Now, problem in India or all in the world, we're not eating omega 3 fatty acid. Where does omega 3 fatty acid you get it from? From where? Fish. We're not eating fish. But we are eating a lot more omega-6. What is omega-6? Where do you get omega-6 from? No, we saturated fat. It's not omega, it's not much PUFA. PUFA. Yeah, your nuts, your seeds, all the oils, right? All the seed oils, omega-6, very inflammatory, very inflammatory. There's a ratio that we recommend. The ratio is 1:1. So if you're vegetarian, if you're not eating fish, what I do is I have a fish oil capsule because I want omega-3s and I don't eat omega-6 at all. So I don't eat all those oils. Okay. So this are all the different, I won't go too much in detail. This also I'm not going too much. The omega-3 fatty acids are very important. Okay, this are all important. And in fact, any cardiologist will know? Right? Okay, so in US, we have this new drug, EPA, okay, that we are using for patients who have heart attack to prevent heart attacks, secondary heart attacks. Okay, EPA using, and this all your omega-3. So EPA, they all come from fish. Okay, very important. Again, I'll skip it because I don't want to go too much in detail about DHA. You don't get DHA from vegetarian source, unfortunately. Very little maybe animal source milk, dairy. But most of the fatty acids, DHA comes from fish. Okay, so if you're eating, if you're non-veg, definitely please have fish. Very important. Okay, now here, what did I say? What should be the content of omega-3 omega-6 ratio? 1:1. Okay, now look at the safflower, healthy safflower, right? What is the ratio of omega-3 to omega-6? When we look at this, everything omega-6, right? And the fish has omega-3. We're not eating fish. How much weighting? Okay. Very inflammatory, highly inflammatory omega-6. A lot of articles that all these omega-6 fatty acids, it gets converted, it releases toxic aldehydes, causes loud inflammation. Okay, like all your, this again some of the articles. Protein. Coming back to protein, how much protein do you require? Flax seeds. Flax seeds you can eat, but flax seeds again PUFA. Polyunsaturated fatty acids. Okay, it has ALA, alpha linolenic acid. It does not get converted to DHA, maybe just maybe 4%, and that ALA is not very helpful. It's DHAPA. So little bit, but it's not no use. You need to this much flax seeds to get DHAPA. That's the problem. Okay, all right. Then you have protein. You guys know how to calculate your protein? Anybody? Doctors? Doctors knows how to calculate protein? Yes, no, maybe. How do you calculate? How much do we need, ladies? How much do we need protein? Minimum 55 grams. And if you're doing muscle resistance exercise, you need at least 1.5 gram per kilogram. Okay. Half a vati rice has how much protein? Half a vati cooked rice. Anyone? Oh, and in the half does not get absorbed. Okay, it's only 1 gram. But that half vati of rice will give you how much carbohydrate? 22 grams. How many teaspoons? 5 teaspoons. So eating a lot of sugar, hardly any protein. Half vati dal. Okay, how much protein? Yeah, 4 or 5, exactly. And only half, 2/3 gets absorbed. Only 5 to 6. It's not only 4 to 5, not more than that, right? And we make very patla dal. Look at the sambar and all. It's all water, right? I'm talking about thick dal. Okay, how much, 1 glass of milk, how much protein does it have? All animal source protein is first class protein. It's first class, everything is absorbed. All vegetarian source means your plant-based protein, only half to 2/3 get absorbed. It's not bioavailable, right? Correct or not, nutritionist? Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. So 1 glass of milk, 250 ml, how much protein? I want you guys to calculate because your protein is 20 grams. Yeah, so 250 has about 8 grams. Okay, 8 grams. So if you're having a dairy, okay, 1 egg is how much protein? 1 egg. 6 to 7 grams, right? Now you calculate, think about it in your mind. One roti has how much protein? One roti. 3. उसमें से cut half because bioavailability PDA score is only half, 50%. So 1.5. Now you think, and one roti has 15 grams of carb, 15 grams, 4 teaspoons of sugar. Okay. Now you think in your mind, how much protein did I have yesterday? Will do? Okay. This is protein. Okay. It's all food high in protein. Very important, especially when you have first class protein, which is all essential amino acids. Seeds are high in protein. Don't throw seeds. If you buy pumpkin, you can throw the pumpkin. I don't care. But don't throw the seeds. There's a high protein in seeds. So when you are looking at nutrition of the product, increase your seeds, because it's anyway eco-waste. People throw it. Okay, you can basically use all this very fasting. Another favorite topic of mine. Cashews are good, high good amount of protein, but also if you are insulin resistant, then it has too much carbohydrate also. So if you wear CGM, cashew, some people they spike glucose a lot. If you're insulin sensitive, then you can have whatever you want. Small amount, not much. So, okay, fasting. Now, what happens when you're fasting? Are you guys enjoying or should I stop? And you're enjoying, no? Okay. Okay. Now, what happens when you're fasting? What happens to your insulin level? When you're fasting, what happens to your insulin level? Huh? What happens to your insulin? Come down. When insulin is down, what is it going to do? Now insulin levels are low. So first thing, now your glucose is not coming. Okay, so your glycolysis is not happening. Right? Your ATPs are not generated by glucose. Now what is going to happen now? Lipolysis. Okay, so your palmitic acid will basically come out from your fat cells. Okay, which hormone will act? Lipase. Right? And then it will get converted to glycerol and free fatty acids, right? One molecule of palmitic will give you 100 ATPs. Yes, 108, 106. This is your ATP. This is your palmitic acid. This is called beta oxidation of fat. Beta oxidation means fat metabolism, fat. Okay, so when you're not getting glucose, now this fat is getting metabolized. That is called beta oxidation of fat. Okay, so here in palmitic is long chain saturated fatty acids. What it is happening at the beta carbon atom, it's a cleavage happening. Okay, it's a cleavage, and one molecule of palmitic is 100, and one molecule of glucose is 80. Look at the difference. So what will give you high amount of energy, fasting or glucose? And what will be the advantage? Your waistline will decrease. You become 24. Want it or not? Advantage, no? Right? So here you want to, and what is generating over here? What is generating over here? Acetyl-CoA will enter what? Krebs cycle. You guys will become expert now. Biochemistry expert. Acetyl-CoA. So what is acetyl-CoA? Comes from glucose and it comes from fat. You want from glucose because glucose will increase your insulin and it will not get rid of your waist circumference, right? But your fat will not raise insulin. So what will it do now? It will give you lots of energy and it will give you beautiful figure. Promise. And you get rid of all the diabetes, blood pressure, everything. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. Fatty acid oxidation. Again, fatty acid, acetyl-CoA. Some amount will enter your TCA cycle through acetyl-CoA. Some amount acetyl-CoA will get converted to ketone bodies, ketones. Those are very highly beautiful molecules to give energy to your brain. So now there are a lot of research happening in US where what they're doing is basically Alzheimer's patients, they're putting them onto keto diet. Because what is happening in first 1 week, 30% of your brain utilizes ketone because they have insulin resistant. They can't utilize glucose. So that's why they're becoming demented, Alzheimer's, right? So now with ketone, their memory is coming back, their cognition is coming back. After 1 week, 60% of your brain utilizes ketone bodies. 60%. So, there's a lot of research going on in that. Okay, these are your ketone bodies, your acetoacetate, beta hydroxy butyrate, and your acetone. There are few things in your body which can produce ketone bodies. Do you know what produces ketone bodies? This one is the one cycle, okay, but there are other things in your body which produces ketones. You know what? Your gut microbiome. You know what is gut microbiome? You have very good bacteria in your intestine, very good. Okay, so if you have good diet, your good bacteria will increase and they produce the metabolites are called short chain fatty acids. They produce these ketones. Why? Because it's a very useful energy source. Okay. So these are all the metabolic adaptation. This was taken from the Journal of Medicine. Again, just got published in 2019. And here it shows you when you fast, what all things happen. So here, when you're fasting, you have and look at all the organs which get affected because of fasting. Okay, you have ATP production, you have mitochondrial biogenesis, mitochondria forming. Then also have autophagy. Autophagy means it basically takes care of all the dead cells. So you have all kinds of dead skin, dead cells, it takes care of it. Okay. Then you have improved performance. You have BDNF, which is very important for brain. Okay. Brain neurotrophic factor. Very good feeling. So if you're depressed, just do fasting. Will give you good factor. Okay. Here the same article. Okay, what it does to your mitochondrial cells. Here, what it happens when you do periods of intermittent fasting. Very important to India. I do every day fasting 18 hours. 18 hours fast every day for 6 years. Okay. Here, this is what happens when you fast. Look at this, all these increased ketones. Increased mitochondrial stress resistance. Look at this. Look at all this effect. So what our ancestors used to do of fasting, they were not wrong. It's just scientists have got woken up now. Follow them. Correct? Problem is we love to eat and we don't fast even 6 hours, 8 hours. Nighttime before going to bed, we'll eat something. As soon as we get up, chai, coffee, right? Okay. These are different kind of, again, New Journal of Medicine, what are different ways of fasting, okay? And they want now doctors to learn about fasting. They want in medical education, it's not taught to us. It was never taught, okay? Please go through this, doctors, very good article, New Journal of Medicine. It's an open source, okay? 5 to 2 intermittent fasting, different hours of fasting, it can cure your patients, to be frank. Okay, now let's see what are we feeding our kids. This is lactogen. Who are the gynecologists over here? Okay, look at what our babies are fed. And what does it have? Can you read this? Skim milk powder. Look at all the rapeseed oil, very high kufa. We removed skim milk. So what we have done, skim milk matlab kya? We've removed saturated fat, we've removed malai, and we have added what? Omega-6. Can you imagine what we're doing to baby's brain? Look at this, and look at all, these are all basically chemicals. Okay. Now this one is your malt-based food. Malt, remember I told you, malt is made up of what? 2 molecules of glucose, right? That's Bonvita. Look at this. Bonvita, malt extract, sugar, liquid glucose, maltodextrin, these are all sugars. So if you give to a child, you're just giving them pure sugar. Okay, there is hardly any protein, no protein. Okay, then you have another one is Pediasure. My fraternity loves to give Pediasure, my pediatric friends, pediatricians, because they don't know what to give. That's a name. Bachche ka wajn nahi pade khane ka to ye le lo. Pediasure le lo. Look at the amount of. Okay, I want you to look at it. Okay, now here I want you to read the label. Okay,
How much sugars? Total carbs, how much? That means one serving of your one bottle of one serving has how much carbs? How much sugars? Okay, now look at this. Water, sugar, corn, maltodextrin. Maltodextrin sugar. Your basically it's maltodextrin. It's sugar, right? What else it has? Safflower oil. Would you give to your child safflower oil? We have to do something about this, okay? Because it is very, very rampant. Okay, look at all these other things. So again, these are some of the this thing. Okay, now there are few nutrients I want to discuss, but I don't think we have time. It's a very, very important. It's magnesium, then sulfur. Okay, sulfated amino acids. I won't go too much in detail because I think it will take too much of time. But magnesium is very, very important because it involves 600 different biochemical reactions. Okay, we take calcium very seriously. We keep doing calcium supplement, Calcium, I don't recommend because there was a very good article which was published. It said that basically calcium, people who take calcium supplements are at high risk of developing coronary artery calcification. Okay, so do not, your daily is enough. Just give 500 to 750 ml daily and you get enough calcium. What you need to do is magnesium because we don't know about magnesium because a subclinical deficiency has a lot of problems. Okay, so this all required, all these things require some magnesium. I do take magnesium supplement about magnesium glycinate I take because when I don't eat grains, I need magnesium glycinate. So, look at this overall effect. This is the effect of magnesium. So, magnesium deficiency. Okay. Your symptoms. So, anybody who has muscle cramp. Does anybody get muscle cramp at night? Many of you, yeah, you all guys are magnesium deficient. Anybody gets palpitation, sometimes heart beats fast. There you go. Please have magnesium. Okay, these are symptoms of magnesium deficiency. Okay, sulfur. I like sulfur, especially for women. Why? Why sulfur? Do you guys know keratin? Keratin is made of sulfur. Okay, so if you want nice hair, eat a good amount of sulfur, sulfated amino acids. Okay, extremely important. There are two amino acids which gives off sulfur, methionine and cysteine. Okay, so if you have a lot of your food which are high in methionine, you will not have to buy those keratin products. Okay, these are the compound which a lot of doctors would know, intensivist would know. What is NAC? NAC. When do we give NAC? This is for my intensivist friend. When do you give NAC in patients? Paracetamol toxicity, right? Even in pediatric, we give paracetamol toxicity. What does it do when you give NAC? What does it do? NAC is important for formation of glutathione. Okay, and glutathione is detoxifying your paracetamol. Okay, so if you don't do NAC, other problems. That's why we do NAC. It will increase the glutathione and all of these toxins. It's amazing. Bronchiolitis or bronchitis, right? To remove inflammation. But we don't know about cysteine. It's a amino acid. Cysteine. Do you know which food gives cysteine? See, doctors don't know. Cysteine, we need to eat more cysteine. So whenever I give any paracetamol, we call Tylenol in the US, I always tell mothers, because I'm a pediatrician, that give food which is high in sulfur. Because when you have got paracetamol, which is your Tylenol, we will reduce glutathione. Okay, so, what are this? Chondrocyte. Where is it used? What do you know it? Joints, cartilage. So you want to have food which is high in sulfur, strong cartilage. Correct? Hyaluronic acid. Where is it hyaluronic acid? Skin. You buy these products from hyaluronic acid. Eat food which comes with hyaluronic acid. Okay. So again, it's all keratin, heparin, fibrin, everything is sulfur compounds. Okay. Functions of sulfur. Too many. I don't go too much in detail, but everything requires a sulfur. Okay. Junk food. Now I'm going to go quickly. What is junk food? Okay. primarily made up of atta, okay, means your refined atta, refined fats, sugar, and salt, right? This is junk food. Even if it is made at home, it's junk food, right? Now you guys know everything about fats, protein, carbs, Okay, now you tell me what is healthy in this. Okay, is there anything healthy? Everything this chakra is fried in. Anything is fried in healthy? What is this? Trans fat. Confectionery. I just came from CFTRI. I saw how they made it. What is this? Laddus. Right? Trans fat, dalda. Okay? The biscuits all dalda. Please don't have biscuits. These are omega 6 oils, cottonseed oil, those are all bad oils, right? Artificial colors, we give it to children. And hidden, they don't know anything, they don't know nutrients. It's all considered at least. Fill up the stomach, but it's not nutrient. Okay, what is a diet like? So, what we are eating? All of us. High sugar diet, desserts, we love it, right? Food with added sugar, tea, coffee, all that, right? Ketchup is high in sugar. Stop eating ketchup to your children. Okay, fruits, we love it. Okay, this is no natural sugar. There's nothing natural about it, to be frank. Okay, if you listen to vegetable, you will have fruit. One of my patients, she was on OMAD. OMAD is 1 meal a day, but she was addicted to grapes. When I checked her triglycerides, 300 triglycerides. Otherwise, she was eating everything low carbohydrate, but almost 100 grams of fruits. Where was it going to? Liver. Okay, starchy vegetables. We love no starch. Flour, whole grains, high fat food, right? Omega 6 loaded oils, right? Low good fats, not eating butter, ghee, coconut oil, right? Very poor omega 3 to omega 6 ratio, right? Less protein. You guys definitely please come with protein after going on. Okay, let me know. Okay. We saw the amount of carbohydrate, protein, and fat in each food group. Okay, so look at the cereals. When you have rice, wheat, all that, how much carbohydrate is there? How many percentage? 84%, right? How much protein? 13. That is also biologically poor, not good protein. Okay, legumes better, 48%, low carbohydrate. Vegetables, all fiber. So I'm not worried. It's all your fiber. Fruits, how much carbohydrate? Okay, milk, not bad. Your beverages, when you have your beverages, too much carbohydrate. Baked product, all carbs, right? How about your eggs? Eggs, high amount of fat and protein. Your nuts and seeds, good amount of protein, fats, right? And your meat. So if anybody's eating fresh meat, if your patients are non-veg, please don't tell them not to eat. Because right now I was talking to one of the pediatricians, they said we have so many young children coming with 3 grams of hemoglobin. It's not fair. Okay. If they have good amount of meat, they'll have good amount of heme iron going in. Okay. They will not get anemia. Okay. So basically what we're eating is dairy carbohydrate, 300 to 500 grams, daily protein, just 20 to 40 grams, daily fat intake, too much from vegetable oil. Okay. So this is what we're eating. That's why we have tsunami of metabolic disorders. Okay. Recommendation to evaluate, take a picture. I want you guys to take this labs, okay. CBC with pyrogen, C-reactive protein, fasting. You don't need to do glucose tolerance test. That's okay. Don't worry about it. But you can do fasting insulin and fasting sugar. HOMA-IR, very important for doctors. You have HOMA-IR calculators available. It should be less than 1. Okay. HOMA-IR is calculated from fasting sugar and fasting insulin. Okay. If it's more than 1, it's basically you have insulin resistance. Your triglyceride to HDL ratio should be 1, less than 1. VLDL less than 20. Liver enzyme should be less than 20 also, because the range that is given in the labs are pretty out of range for me. So uric acid is important. We want uric acid to be less than 5. If it's high uric acid, what does it mean? If uric acid, where is it coming from? Thank you. Not from protein. Okay. Okay. This is again for doctors. In US now, I don't know if you're aware of American Heart Association guideline. Okay, now they do recommend coronary artery calcification scan because it detects your calcification, your arteriosclerosis in your coronary artery. So here is your coronary artery. Okay, you can see this. This is calcification. This is the calcification. Look at that. Okay. So here, I do recommend all the patients coronary artery calcification scan because I want to know what is and this can predict heart attacks in next 10 years. So I don't wait for patients to get heart attacks. I take action before they get it. Okay. So I do recommend anybody who is about 30 to take one coronary artery calcification scan. It's a CT scan of coronary artery. It tells me what is the risk of developing heart attack. Okay, so that people take their health seriously. I just did one CAC scan on one of the patients, year-old, had diabetes for almost 20 years or so. And his CAC scan radiologist called me. He said it's 600. He said, we have to do angiogram. I said, okay, do it. And he found almost 70 to 80% blockage of all 3 arteries. So immediately cardiologist took him for angioplasty. So don't wait. Okay. Okay, so I mentioned. Okay, now for vegetarians. So if you who are vegetarians over here? Pretty much all of you. All of you. Okay. Even no eggs also? No? Okay. All right, fine. So here, that's why I made it for you. So instead of rice and wheat, you eat millets. Okay. But what kind of millets you'll have? Ragi? No. Try to have ancient millets. So what are your ancient millets? Your kodo, your, yes, barnyard, little millet, then foxtail, have those. Soak it for 8 hours. You know the Khadarwali, right? You follow his page now. He'll tell you how to make it. Okay. Then avoid too much of ragi, jowar, bajra, very high glycemic index food. Okay. So the high glycemic, the glycemic is as high as wheat. Okay, so if you're insulin resistant, avoid those and try not to make a flour. You have, more of a whole grain, whole millet, then all your germinated beans are good. So, cook it, don't eat raw, but whenever you make any beans or this thing, you have to germinate it. Germination is very important because beans have something called phytic acid, phytates and oxalates. So you want to remove those, okay? Otherwise, you'll get oxalate stones. Okay. And also it will prevent a lot of absorption of minerals. Then no poha, upma, rice, idli, rice dosa, sugar, jaggery. So yeah, it's going to cause. Huh? Raw banana. Huh, okay. Raw banana. So you guys know Jains, they make recipes of the raw banana. So what they do, raw banana is very raw starch. It doesn't have sugar. It's raw, right? And it's very potassium. So you can basically make raw banana powder. There are wonderful recipes on YouTube. You can just YouTube and you say there are beautiful recipes of raw banana. Have raw mango rather than ripe mango. Okay. All right. Instead of potatoes, use raw banana. Can you have dal poli in dosa? So you learn recipes. Our health spoken tutorial has all these millet recipes. Okay, we have about 400 recipes. Okay, millets. You can eat all about vegetables. All dairy products are fine. Full fat, don't fat without sugar. Okay, you can have seeds, nuts, no desiccated fruits. So no apricots, then what else? Desiccated raisins, no dates, all that. Okay. Eat low sugar fruits. Green tea is fine, lemon water is fine, with salt without sugar. Be not afraid of salt. Okay. Artificial sugar will cause problem with gut microbiome, unfortunately. And it will also increase the dopamine level. You keep thinking of that sweet taste every 2 hours. So what you need to do is to get rid of that craving. Okay. So once you, like for example, today, this morning, I had raw milk. It was so sweet because I don't eat sweet at all. So, but other people didn't find it sweet. And I found, my God, this is so sweet, right? Because I'm not used to eating too much sweet. Okay, so here again, this is an article which I had taken from Nutrition Journal, 2015. And they mentioned that what are the different kinds of carb meals, right? So high carb, moderate carb, low carb, and very low carb. So basically, I try to keep my carbs to less than 50 grams. So this is, I'm on kind of very low. Some days I may go a little bit higher, maybe 75 grams, but I never go up to 130. Okay. What Indian guideline recommends, which they are coming up with, they recommend almost 45% carbs. This is a disaster for insulin resistance. Okay. For normal, if you're not insulin resistant, you can go up to 100 to 120 grams of carbs. But you have to check your fasting insulin, fasting sugar. If your whole is less than 1, you can have a feast. Once in a while. Yeah, once in a while. Because if you don't, what will happen? This is informed choice, right? Okay. Evidences, lot of evidences, Minnesota coronary experiment. They did experiment, the hypothesis failed. And they found that people who had low serum cholesterol had a higher coronary heart disease. Look at this. So the experiment failed, but guideline did not change. Okay, these are some of the clinical studies. Okay, got published. Low carbohydrate diet, better for weight loss, glucose control, HDL, triglycerides. Okay, pure study. Dr. Satish, you must read this study. It's very, very interesting. Got published, I think, in Lancet. Pure study, largest dietary study. What they found is people who had higher saturated fat intake had lower risk of stroke, 21% lower risk of stroke. Okay, people who had high carbohydrate had a high total mortality. Okay, so very interesting study, not being talked about. Okay. This is again, they're talking about triglyceride to HDL ratio. Okay. Again, saturated fat, not bad. Journal of American College of Cardiology. So now a lot of people are publishing this data. They're saying food with saturated fat is not bad. Don't be afraid. This is for anyone not study, must have heard about this study. Okay. No HDL is bad. Okay. Not high cholesterol, not high LDL. This is again American Journal of Medicine, 1977. Imagine, it was published in 1977. They know for a lot it's low HDL, which is bad, not necessarily high LDL. Okay. Little bit about series data. Now you want to know how much children are doing in India? Do you want to know? Tell me, about 5 years old, India, 5 years old, how many percent children have a high triglyceride level? Where does triglyceride come from? Yeah, from carbohydrate, coming from liver, right? So where is it? How many percent children, 5 years old, have high triglyceride level? 34%. Did you guys know that every third child has high triglyceride level? Check it. Check in your children. Get their blood test and lipid profile. Okay. How many percent children 5 years old have pre-diabetes? 9%. So every 10th child is pre-diabetes. How many children must be having insulin resistance? If 9% is pre-diabetic, 60%, because you're 30%, 34% already high triglyceride. So insulin resistance must be 60%. That's why we are called diabetic capital of the right. This is high waist to hip ratio as per latest government data, NFHS 5 data. Okay, women and men. Okay, so here, what do you see over here? How many percent between 40 to 49 years of age, which most of us are 40 years over here? 30. Let's see, from 30 to 49 years of age, what is the average waist to hip ratio, in the sense, what is the percent of people or women who have, or these are adults actually. So yeah, tell me how many percent of women have high waist to hip ratio? Almost 60%. 60% of us have high waist to hip ratio. Okay, so this is our India. For women, all red. Whole. All of them, more than 30%. Okay, and here you can see it. These are all the different states. Where do Karnataka come? Okay. Is it India level? Is it? Yeah. Okay. This is waist to hip ratio. Okay. Here, this is your men. Okay. How about men? Okay. All red now. Okay. This is your obese woman, overweight, obese. Okay. So, which area is showing obese and overweight? Okay. Where does Karnataka fall in? More than 30, yeah. So that's anybody in North India, basically, or wheat eating. So your carb eating population, basically, right? Okay, this is your waist circumference. So what should be the waist circumference? Okay, so if you look at your women in your 30 to 49 years of age, what is your how many percent of women have higher waist circumference? Almost 50 to 60%. That's bad. Okay. Okay, this your women. It's all red. This one, all of them. Okay, now can you please read this? Anybody? Non-medical can read this labs. Not Dr. Satish Babu. He had already given correct answer. This is labs, okay? What is triglyceride level? 75. What is HDL? 109. Have you ever heard of 109 HDL? From 39 to 109? 109. Yeah. This by not eating rice, wheat, potatoes, not eating or increasing my protein and good fats. Without, of course, I'm doing exercise, but I should do exercise before also. So it's all, and there is no drug available to increase your HDL. There is no drug. There was one trial which was going on. They had to stop it. Okay. Okay. So here I'm going to end my presentation. This is, please follow this health spoken tutorial. Okay. We have created a lot of tutorials on nutrition, adult nutrition. Thank you.